Hi, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video, we will be answering some theoretical and application questions for the limits and continuity of functions at a point. Okay, so let's start now. It says here that we write true if the statement is true and give an example. And we write false if the statement is false and provide a proof or a counterexample to the claim. So number one, the limit of a constant is the constant itself regardless of how the accumulation point approaches 2. So this is very obvious. So this is very obvious. This is true. In fact, kahit hit anong accumulation point, so let's say limit of 5 as x approaches to 1 million, kunyari, that's still 5. So kahit anong accumulation point pa yan. So if you have limit of 10 as x approaches square root of 3, it's still 10. Okay, how about number 2? The limit of a quotient of two functions is the quotient of limits of functions that hold for all functions. So number 2 is false. Bakit? Kasi okay na sana eh. We still have the limit of f of x over g of x as x approaches c. So, kunyari your c is an accumulation point. Sabi kasi niya, that holds for all functions. G of x equals 0 is a function. Pero, hindi kasi siya pwede dito. So, therefore, this is false. Number 3, the limit of the nth root of a function is the nth root of the limit of a function that holds for all functions and for all integers n. So, kunyari, your f of x here. So, nth root. Paano kung f of x mo is less than 0? Tapos, yung n mo is even. So, di ba wala tayong ganyan? So, ibig sabihin, this is false. Number 4, the limit of x to the negative r as x approaches whether to positive or negative infinity is always 0 for all positive integers r. So, ibig sabihin, for all positive integers r, so ibig sabihin, r is positive, so dahil negative r, so that's negative. So, x to the negative r can be equal to 1 over x to the r. So, if you take the limit for that, whether the x approaches positive or negative infinity, this is always 0. So, may theorem tayo na ganyan. So, therefore, this is true. Number 5, the limit of x to the negative r as x approaches whether to positive or negative infinity is always 0 for all negative integers r. So, dahil negative integers yan, so ibig sabihin r is equal to negative k. Your k is a positive integer. So, mangyayari dito, x to the negative r, that's the same as x to the k. So, as x approaches whether to positive or negative infinity, so hindi siya magiging 0. Kasi hindi naman siya denominator eh, nasa numerator siya. So, this is false. Okay. So, this is a multiple choice question. Which of the following is true about the limit of a function at a point? So, the limit of a function f is the value of the function at a given point x when we try to move the behavior of that function. So, ibig sabihin ay yung limit of a function natin, f of x as x approaches c is equal to f of c. So, not at all times this statement hold. So, hindi siya pwede. The limit of a function at a point exists if and only if the function is continuous at a given point. So, paano pala kapag hindi continuous, ibig sabihin walang limit? Kasi if you take the contrapositive of this statement, so therefore the function is not continuous, then if and only if the limit of a function does not exist, so ibig sabihin hindi to pwede. Letter C, the limit of a function exists if for every given delta that is sufficiently small, the epsilon will come out as something that is greater than a function. So yung statement dito, si epsilon is dependent on the delta? No. Letter D, the limit of a function exists when there is a very tight difference from a given point with the function whenever there is a very small difference from a point x to a specific function. So ito yung interpretation niya. So if you have a function like that. So parang sabi niya, if you have an accumulation point here, parang ganon, there is really a tight difference from that. So when you there is a corresponding movement to here. So ito yung L mo. So may tight difference siya. So ibig sabihin, the answer is D. Number 2, if C is in R, and if the limit of phi of x is script L as x approaches C for some positive constant script L, so ibig sabihin, the script L is greater than 0. And the limit of psi of x as x approaches C is 0 because the function psi x approaches 0 through negative values. What is then? Di ba may theorem tayo dito that the limit of this one all over psi x as x approaches C, this is always negative infinity. Kasi yung baba niya is, yung psi x mo is 0 through, and approaches 0 through negative values. Tapos ito kasi is positive constant yung value. So meron tayong theorem na ganyan. So therefore, this is negative infinity. Number 3, let's see in R, and if the limit of phi of x is this one, L, for some positive constant. So parang pareho ng number 2, no? And the limit, this one, is 0 because the function approaches 0 through positive values. What is then? So ibig sabihin, positive, ang mangyayari dito, eto siya is positive kasi siya, and then this approaches 0 through positive values. So, ibig sabihin, this is positive infinity. Number 4, which of the following holds true for the limit of a function at a point? Letter E, the limit of a sum of two functions is the sum of limits of two functions provided they have the same accumulation point. Letter B, the limit of a product of two functions is the same as the limit of the product of two functions with the product of accumulation points. So, yung interpretation natin dito sa A is limit of f of x plus g of x daw as x approaches C. Magiging sum of the limits. So, ganyan. Ito yung interpretation niya. And provided they have the same accumulation point. Sa letter B naman, siya? Ang interpretation niya is the limit of the product of two functions. So, f, g. So, f of x, g of x as x approaches C is actually the limit of the product. Parang kinopya mo siya pero may accumulation points na ganyan. Pareho sila. So, kunyari, C squared. Letter D naman, the limit of the quotient of two functions is the quotient of their limits with the same accumulation points. Kulang kasi itong letter C. Kailangan dapat yung condition na yung baba, kunyari yung baba mo is g of x. So, g of x is not 0. So, therefore, it's not all of the above. The answer should only be A. Number 5, which of the following is false? When a function is continuous at a point, the limit of a function at that point is then equal to the value of the function at that point. So, ibig sabihin, totoo to kasi pag continuous, di ba, ganito siya. So, yan yung interpretation niya. So, that's true. When a function is not continuous at any point, it can be redefined to make it continuous. Let's note about that. Letter C, when a function is discontinuous at a point because the limit does not exist, then it is said to be essential. Tama. Kasi if the limit of f of x as x approaches C does not exist, di ba essential discontinuity to? Meron tayong definition yan. So this is essential discontinuity. So we say that a function is continuous if it is continuous on all points in the domain. So this is the definition of a function being continuous on the domain. So ibig sabihin, continuous siya on all points there. So for letter B kasi, hindi lahat ng discontinuous function ma-redefine. You can only redefine the discontinuity if the type of it is removable. Okay, so therefore the answer is B. Okay, so number 6, given that a function f is defined at every number in some open interval I, what is the relationship of a given positive number gamma with respect to the function f when we assume that the function increases without bound as the value of f of x approaches to some accumulation point in I? So, pa-increase siya, di ba? So, ibig sabihin, we consider the value, the positive number. So, in this case, eto siya. Kasi pataas tayo eh. So, hindi siya pwedeng mag-equal. Hindi siya pwedeng mas malaki to. Kasi dapat mas malaki si gamma. And wala tayong ganito. So, the answer is letter B. Okay. Number 7. What must be the possible interval at which a function f must be define if we are interested to determine the limit of a function as the value of x increases without bound. So, as the value of x increases without bound, so ibig sabihin, what is our possible interval? So, ibig sabihin, ito. Hindi naman basta-basta ang any sub-interval ni R. Hindi ito pwede kasi increases without bound nga eh. Pa-decrease kasi to, so ito talaga, letter C. Okay, number 8. To which possible open interval the function f must be defined if we are interested to get the limit of f as x approaches c from the right. So, ibig sabihin, x approaches c from the right. So, dun ka sa right ni c. So, ibig sabihin, the possible value is this. Number 9. Suppose a function f is removable discontinuous at c, having limit this one. So, ito yung limit niya. And for all gamma in R. Which of the following is an example of redefinition of f so that f will be then continuous at c? So, may hint na tayo. Ito na kasi yung limit natin. So, dapat pipilitin natin yung f of c natin is always this one. Para magiging equal siya sa limit. The answer here is, alin ba? Ito. So, ito na. Kasi ito yung f of c natin eh. Yan. So, kunyari yung c is 1. So, eto na siya. That's it. Okay, number 10. Let f be defined in at every number in some open interval containing c except possibly at c. To say that f increases without bound as x approaches to c, there should exist a delta greater than 0 for every number k. Which of the following is the value of k? So, ibig sabihin, for x to be increases without bound, kasi dapat nag-i-exist yung value ni k niya. So, in this case, the k should be positive. So, therefore, this one is the value para mag-i-increase. Pag magdi-decrease naman, it should be negative. So, dito tayo kukuha. Eto, wala tayong ganito. Okay. Okay, so let's go for letter C. Number 1. Why is the limit of f of x equals to x minus 5 as x approaches 0 is negative 5? So, eto lang, this is the same as saying, prove that the limit of 2x minus 5 as x approaches 0 is negative 5. So, parang, to answer that, so let epsilon be greater than 0. So, we choose delta that is greater than 0, which is equal to something we don't know yet, such that 0 is less than x minus 0. So, that's still x na lang, less than delta. So, then we have, ang mangyayari dito, f of x, so that's 2x minus 5 minus negative 5. So, di pa, this is 2x na lang. So, extracting 2 out from the absolute value. So, magiging ganyan. So, therefore, this is less than delta. So, this is 2 delta. So, ibig sabihin, delta is epsilon over 2 para pwede kong palitan 2 as epsilon over 2, which is equal to epsilon. Therefore, the limit of 2x minus 5 as x approaches 0 is negative 5. That's it. For number 2 naman, let j be a function defined by this. So, for what values of m and b is the function j continuous at c and at 5? So, dito muna tayo sa 3. Dito tayo titingin kasi di ba this is less than or equal to 3. So, therefore, for letter 8, we have j of 3 that's equal to negative 2. Yung limit natin of mx plus b as x approaches 3 should be negative 2. So, what are the possible value? So, ibig sabihin, magiging ganito kasi siya. Di ba this is limit of a linear function? So, meron tayong 3m plus b. So, what must be the value of m and b so that it will be equal to 2? Thus, pwedeng, paano ba? Ano yung m natin dito? pwede bang M natin is 1, tapos B natin is negative 5? Sige, kasi pag 1 siya, maging 3, tapos negative 5, so magiging 2. So there are many possible answers eh. So M and B can be 1 and negative 5 respectively. So marami tayong answers dito, depende kung nagmamatch siya dyan. For letter B, so same pa rin. Letter B, we have so J of 5. So dito tayo titingin. Yan. So that's equal to 4. So mangyayari, we have limit of mx plus b as x approaches 5 is 4. So this is the same as 5m plus b. So hanap tayo ng possible na sagot dito. So pwede palang thus m and b can be 1 and negative 1 respectively. So there are many possible answers for this question. Okay, number 3. Let A be the set containing all letters of the English alphabet. Let gamma be the initial of your last name. And let E sub I be the partition of E such that each E sub I has 5 elements except E sub 5 having 6. If your gamma is in E sub I, then you answer I for all I. At ganito yung ganyan siya. Okay, don't worry, we will have to answer this A, B, C, D, E, but we will have to identify. So, kunyari, my last name is Kai, so that's letter C. So, ano yung partition ni E? So, E, di ba, is the English alphabet yan. So, the partition of E such that each EI has 5 elements except E sub 5. So, starting from E sub 1, mayroong 5 elements. So, meron tayong A, B, C, D, E. Yung E2 naman natin, we have F, G, H, I, J. Our A3 is K, L, M, N, O. Our A4 is P, Q, R, S, T. And our A5 having 6, so U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Yan. So these are the partitions of the English alphabet. So ito na yung partitions mo. So kunyari yung apelyido ko is Kai. So that's letter C. So hahanapin ko si C. So C belongs to E1. So therefore, E1, so my I is 1. And I here is, when this is 1, this is equal to A. So I have to solve for A. Although we will be solving up until E. Pinapakita ko lang what's this instruction all about. So for letter E, paano to? This is limit of square root of z plus 1 plus square root of z plus 1 all over square root of z plus 1 as z approaches infinity. So, mangyayari, paano ba? Magmumultiply ako. So, I have limit of square root of z plus 1 plus square root of z plus 1. Yan. All over square root of z plus 1 as z approaches infinity. I will multiply that with 1 over square root of z over 1 over square root of z. So therefore, ang mangyayari dyan, ang eto, papasok na kasi to, so I have square root of z plus 1 plus square root of z plus 1. Eto, magiging z na yan. Diba? Kasi pumasok siya eh. And then this is over square root of z plus 1 over z. Z approaches infinity. So, dito ko na lang titipirin ko yung space. So, ang mangyayari dito guys, di ba makakancel lang siya? So, I have the limit of, eto magiging 1 na lang yan, plus 1 over z, plus eto, ganyan, I will make a separate sketch for that. Yung z plus 1, pagpapasok yung z kasi dyan, magiging square root of z squared ba yan? So that makes this as square root of 1 over z plus 1 over z squared. Yan. All over, eto naman, this is square root of 1 plus 1 over z as z approaches infinity. So this is, so what happened? Di ba pwede nang papasok yung limit? So that's the limit of a quotient is equal to the quotient of a limit. So ibig sabihin, tapos ando na siya. So papasok na rin siya sa square root sign. So magiging ganito. Square root of limit. Tapos madidistribute siya. So limit of 1 as z approaches infinity. Plus limit of 1 over z as z approaches infinity. Plus, pag papapasukin ko rin siya, magiging square root of limit of 1 over z as z approaches infinity. Plus, limit of 1 over z squared as z approaches infinity. Yan. Yan. All over the limit of, the square root of the limit of 1 as z approaches infinity plus limit of 1 over z as z approaches infinity. Okay. So dito na, this one thing here, alam natin this is 0. This is 0. This is 0. This is 0. So the limit here is 1. This one. So we have square root of 1 over square root of 1. That's equal to 1. Okay. That's it. For letter B, we have the limit of absolute value of negative 2x over x plus 5 as x approaches negative 5 from the left. Yan. So, ibig sabihin from the left, so pag lalabas to, mangyayari, this is the same as the limit of negative 2x over x plus 5 as x approaches negative 5 from the left. So magiging limit of 2x over x plus 5 as x approaches negative 5 from the left. Okay, problema natin is magiging 0 yung baba. But the numerator is actually negative. So magiging, this is negative. So we have yung limit ni 2x as x approaches negative 5 from the left is negative 10. Tapos, yung limit naman ni x plus 5 as x approaches negative 5 from the left is 0. But, this g of x, so magiging g, but let, g of x be equal to x plus 5. So, g of x approaches 0 through what? Tingnan nga natin. If kukuha ko ng value which is negative 4, ang mangyayari, this is 1. If negative 3, maging 2. So, papalayo siya, no? So, how about from the left of negative 5? So, negative 6. So, papalapit siya, no? So, this is through negative values. So, therefore, yung limit pala niya, kayo nang bahala. I'll just make a draft of it. So, negative, negative. So, the answer is positive infinity. That's it. Okay, for letter C, so this is the limit of sine of x plus pi all over 2x as x approaches 0. So, ang mangyayari dito, di ba yung sine of x plus pi? So, sine identity, let's recall that sine of a plus b, that's equal to sine of a cosine of b plus cosine of a sine of b. Ganyan. So, magiging sine of x cosine of pi plus sine of pi cosine of x all over Okay, alam natin that sine of pi is 0. And then alam natin that cosine of pi is negative 1. So, mangyayari, this is the limit of negative sine x over x. Tapos, lipat ko ditong negative 1 over 2 as x approaches 0. So, this is negative 1/2 limit of sine x over x as x approaches 0. So, may theorem tayo dito. This is just equal to 1. So, this is equal to negative 1/2. That's it. For letter D, limit of f of x, your f of x is defined as this. So, we have to double check the left and right. So, paano ba? This is the limit of capital F of x as x approaches 1 from the left muna. So, this is limit of... So, from the left, dun tayo sa ano, no? Dito tayo. Kasi from the left of 1, so they have 2x plus 1 as x approaches 1 from the left. So, this is equal to 3. And then, the limit of f of x as x approaches 1 from the right. So, we have limit of 1 over 2 x squared minus 3 as x approaches 1 from the right. So, this is equal to 1/2 minus 3. So, short tayo. This is not equal to 3. So, therefore, limit of f of x as x approaches 1 does not exist. For letter E naman, the limit of 2x squared all over 3 tangent squared of x as x approaches 0 from the right. So, ano mangyayari dyan? Di ba alam natin na yung tangent squared kasi, so, kunyari gagawin kong ganyan. Di ba yung tangent squared, so magiging sine squared x over cosine squared x. X approaches 0 from the right. Tapos, so, pagbabalik-tarin ko yan, so I take the reciprocal, magiging limit of 2x squared cosine squared x over 3 sine squared x. Pero, as x approaches 0 ha. Pero ang maganda dito kasi yung 2 mo, pwede kong ilabas si 2 and 3. So, naging 2/3 yan. And then, dito kasi pwede yung bababa. So, magiging ganito siya. Cosine squared x over sine squared x over x squared. X approaches 0. And so, this is equal to 2/3. And then, I have the limit of cosine squared x as x approaches 0 all over limit of sine x over x squared sa labas as x approaches 0. Tapos, diretsuin ko na, pwede itong maging ganito, di ba? Yan. And that. Meron na tayong result niyan. And so, this is actually 1. This is actually 1, so the answer is 2/3. That's it. Okay, guys, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe so that you'll be updated on a lot of videos that I'll be uploading soon.